Howdy, howdy.
Hey
Hello.
guys, what's
Have
going
y'all
on?
recovered from Paragon's world tour
A little bit, a little bit. I got some sleep.
finally
I think
after
I
a month
finished
and
it
a
up
half?
yesterday. I kind of just I slept the better part of the day yesterday, and yeah, I feel pretty good. How about you,
Awesome.
Jared? How are you? Jared got sick and missed Dallas.
Yeah, I did. And I didn't get sick from Japan. I didn't get sick from licensing show. I got sick when I got home because my kids gave it to me.
Kids got you. Yeah,
The kids got me on their last days of school. My youngest got something and gave it to me. So, yay.
yeah. You sound good now, though.
I think I've pretty much gotten over it. So, all good.
What you got back there on your windowsill there?
Oh,
Theo's
that's
garden.
Theo. Don't you like Theo?
Oh, Theo. Theo's getting ready to hunt dinosaurs.
He is. Yeah, I got the same thing you got back there. These are production samples of the night vision goggles, which are on the way for all our
Yeah.
collectors that have eagerly been awaiting these.
It is time. It
We
is
have
time.
these coming in.
I had a couple pair out in Dallas, and we
Mhm.
didn't have the packaged versions in yet. These are actually our final production pieces.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean it's a long time coming. Sean's undoubtedly going to run some photos right around now. Sean's kind enough to join us today. He had some questions about License Expo, so I'm like, well, jump on this thing and hit us with them. So where do you guys want to start? Amy, always best when you give us direction because we'll just go in
Well,
multiple. You want
let's
to?
start with the night vision just because they're so beautiful and they're right behind us and we've started talking about it. I would like to know what's your favorite part about seeing these in person?
So I'll go first because this really is the first time I'm seeing him in person. At our HQ in Myrtle Beach, Ryland's been getting samples of the progress as this has been going through our development and production process. This is the first time I've seen them in hand. I've held them in hand. And man, was I impressed when I got to open these and finally see them. They feel like they came off of the assembly line at Engine, like in the movie. Like these were shipped over to Isla Nublar for the opening of Jurassic Park. And they're gonna get put in the Jeeps and the Ford Explorers and they're gonna go on the tour. They feel really well considered and thought out. Everything's super clean on them. Great finish. The interior lining. Like, why am I talking about it? Let me just grab them. As you can see, I did pop the batteries in and got the lights going. I got a little bit of bloom on my camera, but they're a nice, subtle green and then red LED. I think Ryland's got a better lighting setup there behind him that shows the effect. But it's really when you look at the back of them and see just how nice and well considered the fabric is, the stitch work, everything's got really clean edges to it.
You see what I was talking about, the quilting under the nose that's so dialed into the screen use piece. I was so happy with how that turned out. I was actually worried about that. You know, I knew it would look decent when it was done, but it's spongy and it's identical to the screen use piece.
Yeah, and it feels so great. Like it doesn't pinch, it doesn't hurt. Like a friend asked me yesterday, is like, does it like rest on your nose? Is it heavy? I'm like it's appropriately weighted. What did we say? I think this is like just over 2 pounds, 2.2 pounds, I believe, if I'm
Maybe a
recalling
little bit
correctly.
more than that. I'd have to put them on the
Don't hold
scales
me
again,
to
but
that.
it feels right.
Yeah, it feels
The
correct.
appropriate heft. And then, of course, everybody at the show asks, are they heavy? Well,
They're
they're
heavy.
appropriately heavy.
They're
They're
heavy.
appropriately priced heavy.
They're heavy
They're not
enough.
that expensive.
Did you get any questions at the show? Do they really work?
Every couple minutes, yes.
Dude, I'm actually glad you brought that up because I was thinking about that when I opened them. If I was opening these up, not knowing anything about them, that'd be like one of the first questions I asked. Do they really work? And the answer is no. They obviously do not work. You cannot use these for night vision anything. And the reason is it would add cost, but I want to explain that further. the cost that would be added, you would either get very, very cheap, low end Gen 1 night vision that is on most kids' toys. It would actually make these feel less. It would feel cheaper if we put in a very, very low end night vision capability. There would be more money, but it would feel like you're getting less quality, less perceived value out of it. And if we did say, you know what, let's just put in Gen 4, top of the line, military grade night vision. Well, these would be $10,000. It's just puts it out of the realm of, collectability for most people at that point.
Right. Now, the original prop, did that work? Was it working?
No.
It was a prop, right?
Right.
No.
So that's what we do. We make props.
The effect you're seeing on screen is a post-production filter that they place to give the effect that what Tim is seeing is what he's seeing through the goggles, which they never functioned in the film. So
you're saying ours is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
yes.
They're as accurate as they get. They made two types of goggles for the film. There were a couple hero pairs where you would see the lens rotate that were cannibalized out of the old camera lenses. And then the bulk of them were just a static lens. I do hope sooner or later sometime, maybe some footage will come up of, I've referenced it before. There are photos of cabinets with NV goggles in them. And I'm sure the idea was prior to getting on the Jeep, you might remove your goggles from a case. The supposition is that they're in a case under the seats because, when the kid pulls the goggles out. And that may be for that scene, but they certainly had a broader plan. More goggles were made for the film. And in that static configuration, they did light up just like ours do, the 8 target lights and the one warm-up light in the middle of the red. So we just, on the switches, one turns on the greens, one turns on the red. And again, Sean will have rolled some video and some static photos while we're doing this. But yeah, my general answer is Jared had a much more heartfelt, sincere, thorough answer. Mine always is when people say, do they work? They work exactly like they did in the film. No, there's no envy in them. So we get that a lot, though. I mean, sometimes we've talked about that. They'll hold up like the modular grapnel and does it shoot? It's a big brass spike. People ask if the Hero Blade Runner blaster actually fires, as though we could sell those at a show. And sometimes when you get it like 100 times in the course of a show, you're like, but sooner or later you learn to just take it as a compliment. The pieces look so real, one presumes that, and you just take it as a heartfelt compliment. It's like, wow, it looks that real to them that they would suppose that it would do this. So yeah, the NV goggles have just been hard fought. Just before we came on, we were talking about whether or not we might talk about some of the delays. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. These set with an initial manufacturer for about 10 months after we had already worked out all the engineering. We spent months looking for just head straps before we finally threw our hands up. Sean, you know that. You've seen me throw how many cuss and fits in the office about the proper straps. I mean, I was
running around town a few times looking for them.
Yeah. I mean, we did so much there before we're finally like, let's just tool up and make them. And it was all because they needed to be that proper color. We could have had them in black. We could have had them in gray. And actually some of the pieces made for the film did in fact have black straps on them. But the hero piece, the Telltale, the one we all know and love and see, does have that milky, semi-translucent strap that we see on, the ones behind me and over there with Jared, and the ones Theo is enamored with right now. So no, we spent a lot of time just on straps. Then we were like, well, the voltage, how are we going to light them up? How long is the power going to run? Nothing sucks more than getting a piece and you cut it on for display and your batteries get chewed up in 4 or 5 hours. That just drives me crazy. So years ago, when I just did some hobby replicas of these, I'd worked out a way to get all 8 greens firing, for a specific period of time on a certain amount of power. And Amy, you could attest to this. Once we cut those on for a 3-day show in Dallas, they ran as bright and strong for all 3. They were on nonstop, 15 hours a day, and still have juice in them. So of course you're not going to do that on display in your house, but the idea is sure, light them up, enjoy them. If you got some people coming over and you want to, stage your collection and kick them on and, have some wow factor, you can. You're not going to tear those batteries up. You're not going to drain them.
If I had Jurassic Park movie night, I would bring those out. I would put the cryo can out, the Hammond cane, and I would turn those on. And the good news is it's 3 AAA batteries. It's not anything that's difficult to find or hard to locate. And the battery compartment is right behind the little strap, the gray strap in the forehead. And it's got a little fabric cover on it that Velcros in place. So your head's not pressing into a battery box.
Not that you're going to be wearing them around or you could see through them, but we appreciate people want to put them on for photos or whatever.
So, that brings up another good point. I took it out and first thing I did was put them on. And my first reaction was, I'm going to go walk to the mirror and take a picture. And then I realized I can't see. So that's it. The other thing I want to clarify is, you cannot see through these. The mechanics and the way they're constructed, there is no way we could make it a visible tunnel that lets you see out through the lenses. It wouldn't be accurate.
You couldn't on the originals. The original goggles just have a piece of fabric through them. You couldn't see through them. It's a non-functioning movie prop.
So if you put these on, don't have somebody come take a picture of you. Don't go try and walk down the stairs or anything like that. Just have somebody's man, hey, take a picture of me, and there you go. You're good to go.
Well, we did play with the idea of running a tunnel of a hole down the middle. We played with that idea, but when it came to lining everything up properly, it just didn't look right. And when you have the pieces on display, if light is flowing in from behind them, there are these small steps, these ridges within the lenses that we were replicating, and it really takes away from that effect. It's one of those things where, sure, it sounds neat, but it cheapens the overall look of the prop. When you see that pinhole of light coming down the middle of the lens, it just doesn't look right. It makes it look more toy-esque, where, like Jared was saying, this looks like a bit of kit. It looks like a high-tech, otherwise dormant piece ready to go when it's sitting on your shelf. And that was the goal. And we've talked about this in other videos, where how far do we go? What kind of liberties do we take? I'm very much a purist. I don't want to mess around too much. It's like taking a Star Trek, if you were making a Star Trek phaser and you're like, okay, it's supposed to be a laser, pew pew, let's put a laser pointer in it. That would be so cheap. Some people would think it's fun and a little neat, but it's still just a little meh.
It makes it a novelty product at that point,
right? Or a version of a toy. And I still like something to look like these pieces could easily be used on set. They could easily be stuck as a background piece or stuck on an actor's head, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't look like somebody tried to make it something it wasn't, or some variant of this or that. It's scanned from an original. It's painted like an original. It lights up like an original. It feels like the original. Truth be told, it's a little nicer than the original.
Having seen the original, it's a lot nicer. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. So, you scan one of those and, they look good from a few feet away, but this is made to look good under scrutiny. So I think we captured that. So to answer your question in the long-winded way, my favorite part of them, aside from the obvious, finally having them done. I really like the finish. We get a strong sense of satisfaction when everything's done. Sometimes you finish a prop run, anything we start, we love. But I've said it's a little like cooking in the kitchen all day. Once it's coming out of the oven, you're not hungry anymore. Sometimes I get a prop done. I'll walk by it and I'll go, wow, looks great. Good to have it done. And I'm so eager to have the pressure off me, because I think a lot of people don't realize it's not enough to design and engineer the thing. Then you got to get it through the hands of the right manufacturer. And sometimes there's a 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing happening when you're going between samples, and you're like, oh, I don't like the way this is. I don't like the way that's, I don't like the finish. And you're kicking these things back and forth, and it just seems like you're never going to get there. And then finally You have the big conversation. There's the eureka moment. Look, we're there. We're dialed in. The studio's letting us do the packaging we want to do. And then tariffs happen, you know, and then you're like, oh my God, we're going to make $20 a unit, you know, after these tariffs beat the hell out of us. So there was a little bit of that happening, but these, I love them so much. There's certain pieces I just love. This is one of those. There's a reason why nobody's made a licensed pair of NV goggles in a few decades and ever. It's because they're hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to land. So to get them in, it's very surreal to me. I love everything about them, particularly like the packaging. You know, we know when we do these, they're not going to end up in a Best Buy or a Walmart or that sort of thing. And sometimes to get outside of the style guide that the studios give us, they say, hey, this is the art you can use. These are the parameters you need to design this within. And we've been fortunate that we were able to step outside the style guide on the NV goggles, the cane, everything we've done. And they've said, yeah, it looks good. Thumbs up. And what we originally wanted to do with that packaging was make it look like the front end of the Jeep. You know, we had the headlights, we had the grill, we had it all there. And it just wasn't worth the fight to talk them into it when it was all said and done. So they let us keep the stripes that you see on the hood. And we tried to give it that feel with the color bleed on the sides. And you can't really see it in these photos, but you'll see it in the ones that Sean posts, the silhouettes of the dinosaurs and the yellow-green bleed. Really happy with the way it came out and the overall packaging. This is one of those things. We only did 750 pieces. I think they're going to go quickly. I mean, a third of them, more than a third's already spoken for. And then there are those who, you know, have some PTSD of having ordered these from others before or wish they might get some. And to see that they're actually shipping and coming in, we expect those, another good wave of them to be spoken for quickly. And then just so you guys know, speaking of tariffs a second ago, right now we're still locked in on our direct to customer. If you order these from us at their current SRP, we're going to honor that. Now, if tariffs get freaky in a month and change, we may have to take the price up, but not for the ones who have already secured their order. We will protect you. Whatever you order at is what we'll guarantee you'll get these pieces at. But if you think you're going to get them at $7.99 now and you wait a month and they go to $11.99 or whatever, well, hey, good idea to lock them down now if you think you're going to want some. The way the tariffs are, right when we think we're safe again, stuff starts moving and getting weird. So the goal on these was to land them at a reasonable price. This was always to be the final piece, the swan song as far as the higher end JP prop replicas go for us. And as we talked about before, if we keep doing stuff with Universal, we've got an idea for a few more things. We could talk about those. We talked about doing a big chunk of Dominican amber, like you see in the film. Thought it might be good to display it in some stone calipers, like you would see in a gemstone shop, something like that. We've got some different ideas on the packaging, but one or two other things we'd like to do. So we'll see how that works out. But for now, just seeing them realized, there's not really one thing I could call out that I like about it more than the other, Amy. It just really satisfying just to have them and like, finally, mission accomplished. Everybody just worked so hard on them. So yeah, love the NVs. Absolutely love them. Love everything about how they turned out. Just happy to have them.
Well, they look stunning. And for anybody who's watching that has been on a wait list, the pre-orders are now reopened since they are on the water, and we'll have them in a few weeks. So if you have not gotten a chance to reserve, go ahead and do that now. Yeah.
And sometimes for people just to see the packaging is kind of that final step, right? You see the prototypes over and over and over again. And usually when you see the final packaging, you're like, okay, it's real. I'm good.
It's ready.
Snatch them up now. So now's the time.
I just realized.
So, what's that?
Oh, sorry. I just realized too, these will be arriving just around the time the new JP movie comes out, Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good time to celebrate all things Jurassic Park. Go see the movie. I'm not saying wear your goggles during the movie, but if you do, send us a picture. That'd be cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So there's that. So that about covers NVs. You want to jump into, Sean had some questions about License Expo.
Yeah, I was curious about that because when I first started working here, I didn't know anything about it. So
Right.
is Licensing Expo just like a standard thing that a lot of companies go to acquire like new license and new IPs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for those of you who might not have seen the previous video, so Amy referenced it. We've been on a bit of a world tour. We were in Tokyo taking care of our Godzilla stuff and scans, and we're going to do a whole dedicated video to that. That's coming. Lots to talk about there. No sooner than we got back, we had a few days to just decompress, if you could call it that, and then we were off to Vegas. So, and we only talked about it for a second in the last video. So all of us went on that. And normally, what you do at License Expo, you could come at this two ways, right, Amy? If you were why don't we look at it like, Sean, let's say you wanted to license a Disney Mickey Mouse waffle maker. I'm trying to think of something just ridiculous. And that's just your passion, right? Well, that would be a great place to make an initial contact. And what you would want to do is make your way over to, you find out who's repping that category, home goods, I suppose that one would be in, because there's collectibles, there's home goods, there's different categories for all manner of things. And if you could actually make it to the rep and tell them what you have in mind and the lane's clear, they may offer to meet with you at License Expo. But you're almost certainly on a larger company like Disney, the studios, the big guys, Disney, Paramount, Universal. You're probably not just going to get a walk up, where you've got your prototype in your bag and hey, I've got this thing and I'm going to set the world on fire with this and I need you to talk to me about it. You're probably not getting past all the installation and security. We got a great relationship with Disney. We're licensed for years with Disney. And even we went through these multi layers of checking in, and not enough to just have your Expo badge. Then you get their badge and you go into a dedicated room that's not with everybody else. It's an example of, they lock down their own area, and that's where you meet with them. Now, for us, having an established relationship with Disney, we're more so going to meet with the boss, the head of the given category that we're working in, and you're mainly just, hey, they'll ask what kind of experience, how's everything going. You don't talk to this person every day. You talk to people a little lower down the tier, and just, hey, how's so and so treating you? How's the experience going? What's up? And it's really a nice way just to touch base in our case and just say, hey, thank you. We love everybody. We kind of went in and just said, hey, we're going to set a tone. We love everybody we're working with, and sincerely, and we do. So our meeting, was great, and away we went for our others. But back to the original thing. If you're brand new, yes, there are some studios and some IP holders that you could just walk up on. You want to do something with, you want to make Otter Pop t-shirts? Well, go meet with the Otter Pop people and tell them about your t-shirt designs. And if the lane's clear, you might start talking money. But the secondary reason to go is, it's good to get in front of the studios with whom you work and spend some time with them. Yeah, they appreciate you making the effort, being seen there. Not everybody makes the effort to go, and they know it's a bit of a haul. And if there's an event, go to their event. If they're having a party, go to their party. It's the difference between a sterile, just any other relationship, and actually having a bit of a camaraderie, putting a face with an email. I think it serves a business well to attend License Expo and meet with your reps and give them the courtesy of that visit. You guys want to add anything to that? Am I missing anything there?
I think most of it is there's obviously money to be made in licensing, but sure, the purpose of a licensing show is not so much the money that people think they can make on licensed goods, or the studios for that matter. They want to know and meet with the people that are representing their brands. So it's more important that their brand is well represented by the licensees that they choose to work with. And by having licensing show once a year, you get to meet with those licensees. And like Ryland said, you hopefully can develop a camaraderie with them and that trust, because you don't want to grant your license to someone who's going to show your property in a bad light or represent it in a way that's less than ideal. You know, that you want your brand out in the marketplace, well represented by a licensee and a partner that cares about it and is, you know, really devoted to developing some great collectibles around it. And I should say it's not just for collectibles. Licensing show is for everything. Apparel, Mickey Mouse waffle makers. It's all
Hey,
happening.
that's my idea.
Airstream is there.
Yeah.
Hush Puppy
Companies you wouldn't think
Yeah.
of needing a licensing presence, they're there because they're doing something. They're doing some kind of business to business deal that you may not have a customer facing component to it, but there's all kinds of stuff happening there. And it really is.
Pan Am's there. They've got,
Yeah.
even though they're not an airline anymore, there's stewardesses walking around repping the brand. That's awesome.
They're a brand, and they want that brand has value, and they're there to make sure that they can meet with people who really perpetuate that value into the marketplace. And that, I think that's the real value of licensing show, is that element to it.
Yeah. And you do not have to go to licensed Expo to get a license. You can work that out well in advance. It's just a lot of people presume this is the path, and it's not that it's the wrong path. It's just you kind of need an appointment, but there are some circumstances where you could do some walk-ups and they'll talk to you. I think, even we had a little bit of time between a couple appointments, and we just rolled up on a studio or two. It doesn't suck that they can Google you real fast and see what you do. But we took a couple just quick ones. Hey, apologies, we didn't schedule this in advance. You have somebody, and you can jump in there. But the main thing is a little bit of maintenance. And again, it's nice to go out and spend a little time with you guys afterwards. It was nice to catch up with the Toho. Always a good hang to catch up with the Toho guys, and have an adult beverage or just chat for a minute. I felt like we just see Aaron everywhere. Weren't we just with you in Tokyo 2 weeks ago, and then here we are in Vegas, and we'll probably see him out in San Francisco in not too long. But it's just great to check in and again make that effort. You've got these people you talk to regularly on the phone, and it's nice to get them in front of you and get a big hug and, hey, how you doing? Come here, get my paws on you. That's a nice thing. So does that answer it a little bit, Sean?
Yeah. And it's like you said, if you go there and you don't land a license, it's all about the networking too, because eventually those people are going to start remembering you the more you show your face. So
yeah, I always say when people ask about, what's the hard part of what we do? I mean, outside of just making the stuff, of course, there's a lot of personalities involved. You got to be malleable, and that's the main thing. You want to be able to get along with everyone, and hopefully you're working with people who are of like mind and vision. And if you are, man, you've banked some karma in a previous life, and you're being rewarded. So that's kind of what we feel like right now. It's a real blessing. Things are smooth right now, but for tariffs. But you take the good news where you can, and we just have stellar relationships with our studios right now, our IP holders. So that's been cool, and this is probably a good segue to jump right into Dallas Fan Expo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys go on that. Again, Jared was out, but the same thing applies to all expos. I kind of shared with him some different things that I noticed on this one, but you guys go. What you got?
So one of the things that we experienced at this particular show with Dallas we had a couple of people come up to us and really express some really beautiful sentiment about why they collect and what draws them to the things that they collect. Do you want to expand on a little bit of that, since I know you were directly speaking with the two people I'm referring to?
Well, it was actually, I know the two you're referring to because we were just talking about that before we came on, but we were talking about the whys. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody who came by and said hi in Dallas.
Absolutely.
I saw
It
some
was
old
great seeing
buddies.
everybody.
Rachel helped me get my ducks in a row, if she'll know what that means. And I mean, there were just so many great people there. And of course, the Expo staff's fantastic. We had really good placement. But what I really like about Dallas is when people come back, you get those established shows, and people come in and they'll say hi. They'll show you pictures of how they displayed their stuff. It's like visiting with old buds, and I really like that. But I was trying to think of the best way to articulate this. Jared and I took a deep dive yesterday just talking about why people collect movie props. And it's so much more than just the obvious, because it's cool, because I like it. No, it's more than that, because like I've used sporting goods, sporting memorabilia as an example. You could have walked into my office a couple of years ago and seen an autographed Dan Marino jersey. You would have thought, hey, you collect sports memorabilia. No, just that. Same thing as a guy who might have a signed football up on his shelf or something like that. Yeah, that's one lane where maybe somebody just always wanted a pair of ruby slippers growing up. Maybe somebody just love Blade Runner, Jurassic Park, and that's the one piece they have. Sure, that happens, but usually those are gateway drugs, right? You get the one piece, and then, well, I like this movie an awful lot too. I need this, and people either have a connection to. It's usually not the film per se. Sure, we all love Jaws, right? And that's a good example of just a film that lives in your mind. You love it. You feel warm and fuzzy when you see it, on a given afternoon. But sometimes that goes a little bit further. You like, for me, I loved Star Wars growing up, so I keyed in on Luke. I wanted a lightsaber. I wanted a blaster, and my connection was to the characters, not the actors. And then some people key in on the actors. They want the lightsaber signed by Mark Hamill. There's different levels to it. I keyed in on the fantasy and the story, and therefore I want an R2, and I want that lightsaber, and I want that blaster. And while others, again, it's more so the actor. And then what I keep hearing more and more of is these connections to points in time. It's easy to use music as an example. So you hear a song that you used to love in high school. It's part of your background, right? Your biography. It's your soundtrack to your life. I did this in the 5th grade. I did that in the 8th grade. These things, it reminds you of that. Well, collectibles are that way. And it used to be a time when people when you would think about expensive collectibles, things that worth more in time. Well, we all know about baseball cards. Even if somebody doesn't know about collectibles like what we do, they tangentially know about the value of comic books or baseball cards or what have you. And usually those are people trying to regress, get back to their childhood. The same reason people collect toys, old toys. It's this was reminds me of a better time when I was a kid, and that's why people just spend tons on toys. When you get to what we do, man, it's so multifaceted. In a lot of cases, a prop replica can be a totem, in as much it hold a significant value to somebody just of a moment in time it anchors them to. I had one guy who was telling me about when his mother had a family member in the hospital, and he had a Jurassic Park DVD player, the old school kind. I'm sorry, he had a DVD player with the screen on it, the old school ones, and he had a Jurassic Park DVD. And he spent all this time in the hospital, with a loved one, and they would just watch Jurassic Park over and over again on the little portable DVD player. So now when you see something like the CryoCan, it reminds him of a family member and all that time they spent in that room. I had another guy who was really talking about a Blade Runner gun and how, it's an expensive purchase for him, this hero prop. And sometimes it's easy just to say, hey, either this is for or isn't for someone, and hey, it's a high-end replica. We can't do anything about the price, and that's why we try to make all these different levels: the water gun, the model kit, and then the end-all be-all. And this guy was telling me how much he really wanted a Hero Blade Runner gun, and it was because of a relationship he had with his father. They got along best when they were watching Blade Runner or talking about Philip K. Dick. Do androids dream of electric sheep? But when he sees the Blade Runner gun, it reminds him of smoking cigars, drinking scotch, with his dad. It takes him to a warm place. So it's kind of a beacon, an icon of a very important time for them. And it was multiple stories like that. Me, I'm a big softy. How many times you turn around and you're like, did somebody tell you a story again? And I'm like, yeah.
Somebody cutting onions at the booth?
Yes, that's exactly it. It was just cutting onions. But I'm Thomas picks on me all the time. He's like, how much stuff did you give away? Like, can I give you thank you for the story? Can I just give you some stuff? I'm such a softie when it comes to that, but I love hearing those stories. It makes all the work worthwhile. And then, it justifies the effort a little bit. You learn that you're a bit of a shepherd of these people's memories, in as much that if you're holding something out there to give them to connect to this wonderful point in time for them, it better be as good as it can be made. So yeah, you kind of feel the weight of that responsibility. And then, when you get a big thank you or an attaboy for it, not that you need it, it just, man, it helps when things are otherwise a little tough. It's great that it means that to people. So I just started really banking those stories, and it did make me realize that, like I said, of course I know, $400 for a cryo can. Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, when groceries are, going up, and I get it. But it's nice to really remember and remind other people. It's beyond just a want. It's beyond just a trivial, hey, I want that thing because it's cool. A lot of times it means a lot more to people than that. And we heard that across the line. Lost Boys bottles. I used to watch that with my mom, and she's not with me anymore. And now that I have this thing, and that helps them, cost justify the purchase a little bit. Maybe they feel less guilty, if the funds aren't otherwise there, or maybe that helps clear the hurdle with a spouse. Hey, my wife said I couldn't spend the money on this, or my husband said I couldn't spend them, but this is what it means to me, and they understand that. And when they share that with us, man, it's really special. So I knew that was a thing. I used to get emails about that when I was more so a private artist. Hey, thanks for this thing, and people would, share a story with me. But after 25, almost 30 years of doing this, it's just something I'll never be jaded by. Like Jared said, I do need to just keep an onion in the booth so I could just hold damn onions. People upset me again. But yeah. And then we've got this cool new booth where we keep stuff in and we can eat in, and we don't feel like, animals at the zoo when we're having lunch or something. And if somebody tells me a story and I get sentimental or something, I can just kind of escape into the booth and get my shit together real fast. So everybody knows when I disappear, somebody told me a story. But yeah, there was that.
That's going to be the thing now. Anybody who comes to our shows is going to be like, oh man, I got to make Rylan cry. I got to come up with the story.
There is no crying. There is a little misty-eyed. Like I said, I'm just happy to know I'm not a sociopath. I can still be touched. I still got, I still got some heartstrings that could be pulled. But yeah.
No, it's a good thing to, I think, get exposed to the, the emotional connection that a lot of people have to the nostalgia of what we're involved with, because that's really what it is. A lot of this is we're linking people's nostalgia to events and circumstances in their lives where these things, probably circled around for a good amount of time. I mean, yeah. Jurassic Park for me was like my senior year in high school when that movie came out, and there was a lot going on there. But man, I went and saw Jurassic Park like 5 times in the theaters because it was so awesome. And yeah, I remember that time. And, you know, getting the cryocan and getting the NVGs here, it's like, oh, this takes me back a little bit. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was always, when I was growing up, I'd see specific pieces. Even my collection now, it's not like I go in all directions. There were very specific props. I knew them when I saw them that I had to have them. You know, probably started with Star Trek, all matter, TOS Star Trek, you know, had to have a phaser, one of the communicator, had the toys, the model kits, all of that. But I had to have those things. There was just a desire to have those pieces that I saw on screen so I could relate to those characters. And then, of course, that ran into Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. And then, you know, there's the odd little pieces that come up over the, you know, the crawl glaive, you know, you want that. You know, I was always a gadget guy. Of course, working flame gun, Logan's Run, that sort of stuff. If it shoots fire or could otherwise harm you, I probably wanted it. And you know, favorite toy growing up, matches and all, guns, you know. So that was the cool thing. But even now, I'm really selective. You know, I was trying to think of more current things that I liked. Always wanted the good Freddy glove. Loved the limit configuration, the Hellraiser cube. You know, what a clever prop. You know, things like that. So it's very, very specific in my zones that I go into. So of course, Paragon makes a great many things that, you know, I always wanted and loved, because of course we're going to gravitate towards those things that, you know, we, you know, have a heartbeat for. And yeah, it's kind of what we continue to do with the 20,000 Leagues stuff, the Godzilla stuff, all the pieces that we have coming. So I guess the overall sentiment is I really did want to let people know that we get it. We know what the pieces mean to you, and just so you know, and it seems to be the point conveyed at the shows, and when people speak to us, they understand that we love it too, and you know, they're saying thank you for you know what you do. So yeah.
I do think it's funny. I didn't necessarily put this together until I started working for Paragon, but you know, some of the stuff that I've collected in the past are trinkety kind of things, statuary, you know, weird kind of stuff. And yes, I have an attachment to them because I like whatever it comes from. Until you gave me the MacGyver prop replica when I first came to visit you right after I started, it wasn't until you put that in my hand and I remembered all of those episodes of sitting down and watching with my dad, and you know, it's
MacGyver. There's a MacGyver prop replica. What?
I'll have to take a picture because it's in my case over here. But I'll send it to Sean so he can put it up. It's so cute, and it was something that I just saw at Ryland's house, and I was like, "Oh my God, where did you get that?" And he was like, "I made that. I just thought it was cute and it's funny." And it's when you see it, you'll understand what I mean. But it's so simplistic that it really just it took me back. It was a perfect sense memory item. And so now that we're starting to hear some of those stories of, you know, that particular piece is something very inexpensive and it's just fun. It makes you feel, and it makes you think and smile. Something like a cryocan that's not necessarily cheap, it still gives you that feeling. It still gives you that joy. And we've heard so many times now of when I saw that come out, I couldn't afford it at the moment, but I saved up. Each month, I put aside $25. I put aside whatever I could just to make sure that I could have this in my hand. And then when you physically put it in their hand and they light up, especially like seeing something move or something, you know, you put that bat grapnel in somebody's hand for the first time and you just see that sense memory connection. I just didn't realize how important and how much different that is when it's a prop replica that you can feel and touch. You really got that in my brain, right? Like as soon as I held that MacGyver piece, it really hit home that that's the difference between prop replicas and just some statue you put on your shelf. It really does solidify that in your mind.
Yeah, that's fun. And Jared, so you know, she's talking about a paperclip.
Yeah.
That's what makes the sentiment so nice. I mean, it's something as simple as a paperclip. So I had done this thing. It was more so a joke. It's the stand that sells it. I just took these large gold paper clips because MacGyver did everything with a paper clip. And essentially it's just an easel, and it's got the foundation on it, and everything's laser. It was the stand that cost the money. Of course, it wasn't the paper clip, but I'd put them out there years ago just as a fun thing. And it's terribly simplistic, but it's oh yeah.
Nice.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give a dark background against my hair, but I'll try to get a picture.
I used to watch MacGyver and take notes, like on all the concoctions he was putting together. I'm like, oh, okay, so you take boric acid, and then you take all right, silver nitrate. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna blow myself up one of these days.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had done those the MacGyver prop, the paperclip, as an example of, you know, the packaging is what made it, and it was just fun and cheeky, and I used to give them away. I think I sold a few on the RPF a while back, but still, nonetheless, you know, it references the what was it, the Phoenix Foundation or something he worked for.
Phoenix Foundation.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, that's the logo's on there, and it just says prop replica, and it was really meant as a joke, but people really love those things. It was fun. But that's the main thing that I guess what we're talking about is just that, you know, that connection to a specific point in time, and you know, if you're going to do that, if you're going to provide a service that does that, then make the thing all it can be. Because otherwise somebody's just, and hey, there's money in collecting toys too, and certainly cosplay replicas, hey, they count as well. You know, who are we to dictate, you know, what sets the tone in one's memory or happy place? But we tend to provide the, you know, the higher end, the better examples of, you know, we want it to look like it fell off the screen. So I'm glad we're scratching that itch, and a big thank you to everybody who shared their stories about that. I had one guy who was telling me about, he had bought a super great dude. I'm trying not to use people's names, but we'll show the photo of it. So this guy tells me how much he loved the you know, the Hero Blade Runner gun, how much he loves Blade Runner, and he shows me his hand, and he's got a wonderful tattoo of the origami unicorn, and that was touching. Where, you know, here's this big cool guy, you know, and he's like, man, I got this thing in, and the day I got it, I got this tattoo to commemorate it. Wow. And that's pretty cool. Good. And when people are inking themselves to commemorate that purchase, you know, that was touching. I had to you know,
got some onions.
Got onions in my eyes, got a little onions in me, and had to, you know, so I'm a wuss, you know, when it comes to that stuff. You know, I'm sentimental. I'll growl and bark about everything else, but you know, that's kind of cool stuff when that happens. So yeah, great time was had in Dallas. We've got more shows to do. The biggest one on the horizon would be the MegaCon in about 10 months in Orlando. We're going to try to squeeze in some shows before then. Not really sure where those might be. We're also talking about maybe trying to get over to Tokyo Comic-Con. We'll see this year. We'll see how that works out, and give some love to some of the a Monster Con or two, you know, East Coast. So yeah, we want to do more shows. That's the number one way we can actually talk with people and, you know, answer all those questions and, you know, discuss what we do. So I like doing them for just that reason. And you guys got anything else? Sean, you got anything? I mean,
no, I think you pretty much answered everything. Now, hopefully this is informative for everybody, because it was like I said, going to Licensing Expo, I would have never thought of that. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it makes sense. Even if you don't land it, you're going to meet the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing we heard about. A lot of people watching the videos. Like, like so many people were like, more than 10 people watch your videos. More than 6 people watch your videos. And people, even that day on Saturday, one of those days where we were actually posting late, people were coming up, hey, I just watched your video while I was eating lunch. And I'm like, my God, did you get enough of us when you were by the booth? And you know, it was funny, but people quick to share opinions. You know, like sometimes people are happy with the length of them, and so little long sometimes, run a little long. And I'm like, well, you take a break, you press pause. And then, sometimes you get out there where the buses don't run. Yep, it's what we do. They're not scripted. And but I mean, the main thing is people do seem to enjoy them. And forever we couldn't. When I was saying only like 7 or 8 people were watching these, forever I couldn't really figure out the count. So most people go to the video link by way of Instagram or one of our socials. And if you do that, we don't get a view on like YouTube. So when we hang everything on YouTube anyway, when we go look at the YouTube count, it might be 50 people, 60 people, sometimes 100 if it's after it's been there a month. I was looking at that count thinking that was it. Like, oh, not many people are watching these things. And that's why I kept saying that. I was kind of half joking, but kind of serious. And then we finally were learning how to read the counter on Instagram, and we were seeing 500, 600. Of course, more than a few people were watching them. But the interwebs confuse me sometimes, and I understand how to read the counter. So there were actually more than 5 or 6 people watching the video. So that's kind of nice too. And I did notice 600. Did you guys see it? We flipped 600 people subscribed on YouTube. It seemed like it was never going to happen. Like it was just like people are, it's not a thing anymore, and I can't bring myself to say smash that like button, subscribe. I can't do it. I cannot do it. It feels so smarmy. But if you guys do like these and you want to see when they pop up and make us feel good about ourselves, you can actually subscribe to the channel. So if
you like Theo and you want to see more Theo content,
yes,
like subscribe. Look how Theo is.
Theo is shallow and needs that sort of validation in his life, and we'll convey to him that he's got a fan club. He ironically does show up for videos. He does seem to
almost always.
I think he hears voices. He's been a people cat. He knows where people are. If he hears voices, if he hears people activity, he'll come to that room and be like, I'm gonna hang out here.
Yeah, he just comes in and chills. I mean, he hadn't given anybody the business today. He's just sitting over there, hanging out. So that's nice.
He was, before we went live, he was checking out the goggles and he had his face in there like he was trying to wear it almost. I wish we had captured that, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it'd been good. Oh yeah, and I should say, I know it seems like I wear the same shirt all the time, but just so you know, that's not the case. I just like Filmation so much. I have like 6 of these, and it's become a uniform: khaki shorts, Filmation shirt, tennis shoes. That's been my uniform, as everybody will attest to.
I know,
and I even had to. I felt like nobody believed me when I was saying it, so I took a picture of all my Filmation shirts, and that's not even all of them. That's like the majority of them laying on it, because I got a few variations. But there's a graveyard of Filmation shirts laying in my guest room, just because I like it and I'm weird that way. So there you go.
It's comfortable. I wouldn't blame you. After feeling your shirt at Dallas, I might have to order some of those.
I love Filmation. Yep, it is comfy, but I, as I've said before, I love logos. I'm sure I'm on the spectrum somewhere. There are certain logos that just make me feel good, and Filmation's one of them. And anytime I saw that logo as a kid, something cool was happening. It might be on Filmation had coloring books. They made live action Shazam and Isis, and then years later, He-Man, Ghostbusters, all that stuff. Filmation's where it's at. So yeah, I like it. That's all I have to say about that. I'm running out of steam, guys. While I am feeling a lot, while I am feeling a lot better, I tire quickly. I need a nap now. Snacks and naps. I'm gonna go eat something and chill out.
Snacks and naps.
Yeah, snacks sounds good.
Need a little nap, but that's all I got. So a big thank you to everybody, and we probably should wrap it up because we are running long. But yes, very good to get everybody's feedback on the videos. And if you want to be on one of these, if you want to ask us all the questions you ask at shows and talk about the things we talk about at shows, jump on one of these with us. Love to have you. So Amy will tell you how to do that.
Yeah. If you want to be on this, email us at info@Paragon FX Group or give us a call at 843-579-8774.
That's it.
Cheers.
And like and subscribe.
Guys.
You guys
Yeah.
have a great weekend.
All right.